Council.
It is her.
Thank you. Thank you for recording. All right. I wanna, we have a couple of newcomers, so it's our maybe bad habit to have our newcomers introduce themselves and let us know, what, part of the neighborhood they live in. You don't have to give us a house address, but where you. So if this is your first Oak Grove
It
meeting.
is, Lori Sprague, I live in Oak Grove, near Park and, River Road.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. Carol Hanley, it's not my first meeting, but my last one was pre-COVID. And I also live, I'm on Evergreen and, River, pretty close. So,
Hi, I'm Karen Burig and I am the long range planning manager at Clackamas County, so I'm here to support Martha. I think she's on her way.
Okay.
But I haven't been in person to an Oak Grove Community Council meeting since probably pre-COVID.
Okay, well, it's good to have our newcomers here. We usually start then after our newcomers to introduce the board. My name is Valerie Chapman and I am the chair.
My name
I
is,
forgot to say, I live on Evergreen and I see these people walking my street. I'm a block from the trolley trail.
my name is Mark Elliott. I am vice chair and live off of Concord Road. But I have an announcement to make before we go any further because there's somebody's birthday coming up on Saturday. And I think we should all offer sing happy birthday to Valerie. So please join me in singing happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Procedure.
I'm very.
All right.
Joyce Johnson, and I live, near Rexdale High School on Gordon Street, I'm the secretary.
Daniel Dyer, Brookside Treasurer, and I live off Park Avenue up on Max Station.
Okay, our other board member is online.
Hi there.
Ben,
My name's Ben Cheney, board member at large. I live over on Briggs, near all the water construction.
you win this if there isn't.
No.
Okay. All right, so let's just go around the room.
I'm Gwen, I live on Evergreen and 25th, close to the trolley trail.
I'm Bob Bohan and I live down off of Laurie here next door to Rosevilla.
My name is Vanessa Danes Legal and I live on the Hill Road on Wild Rose Court.
Jean Silvetti, Fair Oaks Ave.
Anna Blackmore, Fair Oaks Avenue.
Okay, and let's help the people online. Start with, I don't know, it says owner. Is there an owner?
I'm and Joe, did you turn on? I'm and Jolene Hammond and we live on Viewcrest.
Okay.
It says owner.
Gail.
Okay.
Okay, what do you say?
Yeah, Caleb Pruitt.
Yeah, hi, Kayla and Jay Eulenhoff. We just moved to Evergreen at 24th.
Okay, yeah, welcome. Is this your first Oak Grove meeting?
I think it's the second, but yeah, it's been a while.
Welcome.
Awesome. Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig Van Valkenburg. I'm with Willamette View.
All right. Let's see. Dave, go back.
Dave Kobeck, I live at Rosevilla.
Eugene. Sorry, Eugene.
Muted.
You're muted, Eugene.
Eugene, you're muted. We can't hear you.
There you go. Okay, I'm Gene Fifield. I live near Courtney and River Road, pretty close to Rosevilla.
Oh,
We got, this says Feral, Feral.
You have to unmute.
You're muted.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Marianne. I don't, my email is Farrelluna. I don't know how it ended up just Farrell, but although it's appropriate. I'm thinking of moving to Rosevilla, and I'm just curious about this neighborhood association. It seemed like a good thing to find out about, so.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you.
All right.
Mary, a resident. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Karen Aubergine, and I'm on Mulberry. Been here about 10 years.
So Farrell, it's Mary. Would you put yours on mute again? There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're getting feedback. And Eugene, yours is unmuted. If you would mute it again, that one.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
I got you.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Greg.
Greg Wennison, live on Oak Grove Boulevard between Fair Oaks and Laurie.
Thank you. We have Hanks. Yeah, you're muted, sir.
You're muted.
You are currently muted. You're still muted.
Hanks, you're muted.
Hello? Am I on now?
Okay. Thanks. Henry Epstein.
We got.
Okay.
Yeah, you're unmuted now.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. I live on Harold Avenue near Raymond. I don't know why there's reverb.
I had feedback from someone here. That may be you. You may want to turn down your speaker.
Henry, just mute yourself now so that we can move on there. Thank you.
Henry?
All right. We have Henry.
That's him.
That's Henry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Get both of you. All right. Jude.
Jude Watson, Rosevilla, first time.
Oh, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. We've got Karen.
Karen, are you here? Karen Overding? Sorry, I maybe should have. How about
We've got Linda. It's Linda Seals.
You're muted, Linda.
She knows.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I'm Linda Seals, and I live on Woodland Way, south of Oak Grove Boulevard.
We're glad you're here tonight.
All right, Pam Moran.
I'm Pam Moran. I live at Roseville.
Welcome.
All right, and Sue Conahan.
Sue Conahan. I live at Parkview Circle and River Road.
All right, welcome.
Okay, I think that is everybody.
I think that's everybody. All right. Well, we're welcome to everyone. And where there's no rhyme or reason why some of that feedback happens with some people's connections. So that's why we ask people to keep them off unless they're speaking. We'll do our best to mitigate this. Not that we can do much about it. Okay, let's have some officer reports. Dan, do you want to give us a treasurer report?
Yeah, at last meeting, we had $31 in donations, and our balance currently stands at $1587.21. as of this moment. Also, speaking of which, those in the room are feel free to donate cash or checks here, and those online can donate at the Oak Grove CPO website if you like. Also note that this donations here are only for the Oak Grove CPO, not for any other organizations. That's what it does.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a secretary report?
Yes. Amanda is a voting member.
That's, oh no, I'm good.
Oh, that's Martha. Oh, yes, I thought it was Amanda. Amanda Trujillo.
Trujillo, yeah.
Yeah, is a voting member.
Okay, so we have a new.
Attended 3 times and.
Great. All right. And if you haven't, please make sure you sign in.
Please sign in.
Makes it taking attendance a lot easier. All right, we have Craig Van Valkenburg here tonight, who is the CEO of Willamette View, and he is going to give us an update on what projects at Willamette View. Craig, did you need to be to share screen?
Yes, please. I have one slide that I'll pop up and just speak to.
All right, I'll make you co-host here.
And then we'll see how good I am at technology of pulling up this slide. Find it. Well, while I'm looking for it, I can just start to verbalize what I will show you. So, if you're not familiar with Willamette View, we are on River Road. And actually, Roseville and Willamette View share a property line. We are neighbors. And we just finished celebrating 70 years in existence as a nonprofit senior living community last year. We have had a master site plan that we developed a number of years ago that we have been working on. Let's see, and I apologize, I'm still looking for that one slide. And that master plan, let's see, here it is. The master plan calls for updates of buildings, new development where it makes sense. Let's see, are you able to see this?
Once you share it, you should.
Huh.
Is it letting you share?
No, it's not. So that's okay. I'll just speak to it. The master site plan that we have focuses on, where Willamette View started, the development of the campus over time, and what our plans are for either updating buildings or adding new and different types of living environments or services. So for example, we have independent living, assisted living, memory care, a lighter side of assisted living. Then also we have skilled nursing. So we have a small 7-bed Medicare skilled nursing facility on the campus. We in 2024, 2025, we literally took our assisted living and skilled nursing building back to the internal studs and updated the building for all new energy efficient services programs, exterior, solar on the roof, carpet, paint, lighting, all updated rooms for residents, excuse me, and common spaces. and we added a seventh room to our skilled nursing unit. So my little add on that is that our skilled nursing unit is open to the public. So if there are people in the neighborhood, at times we have Roseville residents that will rehab there coming out of the hospital, but we have referral programs with Providence Milwaukee Hospital and Providence, Oregon City for residents in the community that are looking for skilled nursing in the neighborhood. So you're welcome to check that out if you ever need it. So that was one development project that we undertook, and then if you drive down River Road, you'll notice on the left-hand side, the east side, across the street from our property, we've been developing out some duplexes and single living environments for residents that have been moving to the campus. We have one fairly significant project that we're working on, which will be the replacement of one of the buildings on the campus, actually the third oldest building. It's called the Plaza Building, and we are right now in the midst of the final designs for a replacement building on that particular site. So we're going to be uh, demoing a 65-year-old building starting probably late April, running through the summer, and then building back on that property a new building that'll be independent living apartments and underground parking, new dining, amenity services, and some office spaces on the campus. And we'll be adding 66 new independent living apartments on the campus as a result of that project. So part of it, what we do is look for some incremental growth of the campus over a period of time to essentially meet the needs of the growing aging population. Both Willamette View and Roseville are in the senior living services business, and Oregon has one of the fastest growing senior populations of people over the age of 70. And so many of us in the industry and the local Portland market are pretty busy these days with the demands of providing available housing and services to people that are looking for community style living environments. So we expect that project to start in September, and it'll take 2 years to build that building, and then we'll open it up. And that's one of the kind of inherent challenges in the industry is just the length of time that it takes to either remodel or develop new property for people that are interested in moving to our communities. It just takes a long time. And so we have this literally 5 to 10 to 12-year timeline for the reinvestment in the campus. So we have about 500 seniors and about 300 employees, and we'll grow to about 560, 570 in about 3 years after that building is constructed and filled up. So, and then from there, it depends on, what the market interests are, what the housing needs are in the community as to what we would do next. But this will be the first project of this size that we've had in quite some time. The Manor building that you might be familiar with is an iconic building. It was opened in 1955. Right now, we're in the process of doing some significant renovations in that building to bring in new power, fresh air, plumbing, and heating, and into the building and then out to all of the apartments that are in that building. There's 165 apartments in that building. So that's a project that's going to span about 3 years for us to update that building as well. So I guess, Valerie, that's kind of the highlights. I'm happy to answer any questions or
Can you tell us how many, where the duplexes are built and on the east side of the road between Evergreen and going down that?
Mhm.
How many new units are there and are they full and are they finished or what's the?
Sure. So we have, thank you for that. We have three phases for that project. The first phase was 5 duplexes, so 10 units. They're all full. The second phase is 2 duplexes and 1 single unit. They are all spoken for. They'll start to open up in probably late May, early June, and fill up over probably a period of 3 or 4 months. The phase three, there's 2 single units that will be built on 20th. And then over time, whenever properties come up for sale that are adjoining that, we would look to acquire those and then I think develop one, I think it's one more duplex. So all total, it should be about 17 or 18 living environments on that particular development. And those are similar, but in a more current modern day design to what we have I say on the back side of the campus down towards the railroad tracks. We've got 22 single family units or duplexes in a kind of a cluster down there that were built in 2000. So that type of single level single family home style or duplex style is a popular living environment. So we're kind of adding to that number of units that we have available.
I'll ask another question. So, if anybody else has a question here too. What's the minimum age for people to move in to Lime View? Do you have a minimum age of people moving in?
Yeah, we do. It's 55 years old. So you have to be 55 years old to move in. And there's really the qualification is the financial ability to live there, and that's based on an actuarial table of somebody's current age, kind of life expectancy, and and as a nonprofit organization, we rely on a foundation that we have that can provide financial support for folks that may outlive their assets or their income so that they are able to remain living there for the duration of their life.
I see Ben, can you have a question?
Thanks. I'm just curious, is there a way to like take a tour or kind of get, familiar with the campus, if you were thinking of someone moving or having a resident there? Yeah, how would one go about that?
The way that we approach it, we have a sales team. The sales team schedules tours for people all the time, and it's really just about making an appointment with one of them. And it takes a good hour actually to walk the campus and take a look at the different services and programs because we're so spread out. We make sure that people have allowed plenty of time to do that. If somebody is interested after that, we utilize a resident committee that is a welcoming committee that somebody can come back and have lunch with the residents and talk with them and get a feel for what it's like to live there. Kind of separate yourself from the sales guys and talk to the real people that live there. So we arrange that as well. And
Very
then
nice, thanks.
oftentimes we have people that come from out of town, so we've got a couple of guest rooms that we'll put people up for the night too.
Mark, you have a question?
Yeah, I had two, Craig. One was how many stories or how tall is the new addition that's replacing the plaza? And the second question was whether Land View offers any month-to-month tenancy there.
The building will have one level of underground parking. And so, Mark, you would, as an architect, so the slope of the property, the way that it drops down, the parking level will be fairly tall in one area. So we're actually planning on doing stackable parking in that area. So we're trying to get as many cars off of the streets and off of the parking around the area as possible by putting them under the building and then adding in the stacked parking. There'll be one main floor of services and then 7 floors of apartments on top of that.
So is it going to extend higher than other buildings on surrounding buildings, or I'm just curious how it fits into the
Yeah. Nothing will be taller than the Manor building from a line of sight because it sits up on the highest part of our property. This building will be the second tallest building in terms of number of floors. There's a building to the west of it that's called the Court. That's a 5-story building. And then to the south is our healthcare services, and that's a 3-story building.
Other questions?
10th month to month.
Oh,
right.
sorry. Willamette, no, not right now. Well, let me back up. Willamette View is what's referred to as an entrance fee community. So when people choose to move there, they pay a dollar amount, a fee that is related to the size of their apartment and where it's located. And then they pay monthly rent for the services that are provided on the campus. So we don't have a senior living project property that is just month to month. But we have people that oftentimes move into the campus before a building is built or the apartment they're moving to is remodeled. And so those are just month to month rentals until they actually physically move to their permanent apartment. Does that answer your question?
Say, Craig, I was just wondering, does Willamette View also own the houses that are across on the east side of River Road heading towards Courtney? There's like 3 of them or 4 of them right there. It's kind of just south of the little minute market. Just wondered if you guys were going to develop that or if that's something Roseville picked up.
Let's see, south of the Minute Market.
Heading towards Courtney.
Heading towards Courtney. So, yeah, so there's a parking lot on the corner of Evergreen and River Road that we own, and then it's the apartment complex to the south of that.
Would be just southwest of Torbank, I think.
Yeah,
Where
no,
the grade school is. No, actually, it would be a little bit further down than Torbank.
I'm pretty certain that's Roseville and across.
Got it.
Yeah, but it is.
Yeah.
They all went on Torbank and River Road, right across from where their coffee shop is. That's where the crosswalk is. So I think we heard about that at our last meeting, that property, because of the crosswalk, makes it buildable.
Yeah, we have the property up on Park and River Road, that kind of wedge property. There's a fenced parking lot up there right now, so we have a what's the county call it? A temporary permit not otherwise authorized to use our property for construction parking. So we're going to be doing that as we move forward with the replacement of the plaza. It's a way to get all the construction vehicles off the road and side streets.
Well, Craig, I want to thank you for coming. We always appreciate you attending our meetings, but thank you for being available to do the presentation tonight and keep us updated on what's going on. I mean, we see lots of building and there's lots of people in the room here who actually live on Evergreen or Park, and so it's it's good to know what's happening on the other end of our street. So thank you for being.
Yep, happy to answer questions anytime. I know the construction's disruptive, and I apologize for that. And hopefully the contractors are keeping it to a dull minimum as best they can. So thank you for your patience.
Oh, I was gonna ask, Greg, if you happen to have any renderings of the new building, maybe you could share that with us at a future time.
Sure, be happy to. And I think I'll probably I will have details then that might be worth that you can actually see on a PowerPoint from the architects of like the first floor and maybe a couple of apartment layouts if you're interested in that too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll move along in our agenda, and we have Martha Fritzy, who is the principal planner with Clackamas County. I don't know what DTG stands for. Yeah, that's next year.
Okay.
Who's going to be talking to us about planning and zoning. So, Martha, you're on.
Thank you, and Karen Burig is here as well. It's really exciting to go to a meeting. I realized as I was driving here, I haven't done this in a really long time, so thank you for having me. We're here, and thank you for putting me on the agenda. We are here just to give you a little update about some things that are going on with planning, some projects that we're working on that will result or are already resulting in changes to our the zoning codes. And I don't know how, I know you review land use, I don't know how familiar everyone here is with our zoning and development ordinance. But essentially it's this big fat document that contains all the rules that sort of dictate what can be built and can't be built on a property, where it needs to locate, and certain development standards. We have had this zoning ordinance since 1980 or so. We have made a lot of changes to it, but it has been since about 1980 that we have done a wholesale look and just tried to really understand what's working, what's not working, how can we streamline things, how can we make development easier, how can we make the ZDO more understandable. And so we had the opportunity to get a grant from Metro. And so that enabled us to hire a team of consultants, because we work in the CDO every day, like we know what we think, right? But it's good to have an outside party come and take a look at it. And so they took a deep dive into our zoning codes. And they have been working on this project for about a year. And I guess I should backtrack a little bit. Their focus, because this was a grant from Metro, their focus really is the urban area and the urban unincorporated area, which is this area, Jennings Lodge, sort of Sunnyside area. So, the urbanized area that's outside of cities. And their focus has been looking at ways to improve, clarify, make sure that we are meeting state law requirements for certain things. And also identify ways to, identify barriers to both housing and employment land development. And to try to understand some changes that could be made that would help support more housing, help support more jobs. But quite frankly, for me, it really is a lot about just making it easier to understand and easier to use. We are also looking at different online options for making our ZDO more accessible and quite frankly, more usable online. And so hopefully that will help people. So for the last year or so, our consultants have been taking this deep dive into our zoning code. We have had a few focus groups, although at this point, because this is largely a technical exercise up until this point, we haven't done a lot of community outreach. We've reached out to particular stakeholders, as people, developers, property owners, people we know, who responded to a survey and said they were interested, or people who use our ZDO. And also we've had a lot of internal interdepartment focus groups with people from engineering, for example, who there's a lot of ties for development, obviously, our zoning code and their standards. And so ultimately what all this is doing is coming in the next month or so. There will be a big report full of all of these identified issues, recommendations of how to change our code moving forward. There will not be any code amendments in this particular phase of this project. But what we are going to do is take a look at all of these recommendations, try to understand really how to move forward and what we want to do. Some of the things that we know are coming out of this are recommending consolidating some of our residential zones, some of our commercial zones, because we have, I don't know if any of you have ever been in our zoning code, there are an extraordinary number of zoning districts. And quite frankly, a lot of them are functionally almost the same, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to have that many anymore. It's one of those where we've added, and everyone was afraid to sort of take away, and so over the years, we've just added and added and added. So now we're looking at ways to consolidate, ways to potentially reduce this extraordinarily long list of uses, very specific uses sometimes that we have. That maybe some of the terms and some of the uses are a little outdated, particularly in the business industry, for businesses that are out there now. And so we're getting recommendations. We know that those are gonna be some of the recommendations. There is a recommendation to really focus, to lean more into a form-based code, as opposed to the standard code that we have now, which really means, it's more of a focus on sort of like form and placement and size and massing of development, rather than as much of a focus on what is in the development, what use is in the development, which doesn't mean that every use is allowed everywhere. There's still residential zones and commercial zones, but it's a little bit of a shift more toward how we want our community to develop, rather than, do we really care if there's 3 dwellings or 4 dwellings inside that structure? I mean, maybe we do, but I'm just saying, or maybe that's not a good example. You know, do we really care if it's a physical therapy office or an acupuncture office or daycare? You know, it's not about what's in the building, it's about sort of the structure and size. And so those are things that we're gonna be looking at. Like I said, we will be getting this report very soon. We will be posting it on our webpage so anyone can see it. It's long. It does involve a lot of sort of technical stuff. But the recommendations should be pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. And so we then internally are going to take these recommendations and start figuring out, how do we implement them? Do we want to implement all of them? How do we implement them? And we're going to put together what I'm envisioning is a couple of packages of work, of sort of focus areas. The first one is most likely going to be really around housing, because there's a lot of legislation that's recently come down and we have deadlines to make some changes. And so what we're going to do is identify sort of generally what we think we want to do with this recommendation. We are going to put together just sort of general ideas. We are going to do some outreach. There will be other opportunities for people here and others to provide some input into really how this would be shaped up, and then eventually move closer to fall. We would be drafting some code amendments and just running through some packages and making some maybe pretty significant changes to our zoning code. And so it's called the what's it called on the website? Urban Zoning and Development Rules Assessment. Everybody thought that was easier for people to understand than ZDO Diagnostic Report, which is really what the report is, right? I mean, that's what it is. And so, and I'm kind of like technically wonky like that. So that's the first big project that I wanted to talk to you about. I did send you 2 other projects that are going at the same time, because I think it's important to understand that those are also coming, but they're not this really. And so I don't know if you want to ask questions about the ZDO Diagnostic Report first, or if you want me to just sort of keep talking about what else is going on.
Martha, can you give us an example? I mean, I think most of the people here, you know, are interested in what might happen in changes in residential areas. You know? Okay. So, an example of what, you know, what kind of changes and what kind of effect that would have.
That's a good question. I think it's a little bit hard for me to answer it at this point because I think a lot of changes have already occurred in your residential areas with middle housing that we had to implement. And I think we're seeing some middle housing development. And the middle housing rules are actually changing again. So we are gonna have to make some changes related to that. Those are requirements in your state law. And so I think somebody's waving their hand online. I think what you're gonna see in these lower density neighborhoods is more infill. And there will be more small detached houses on these lots as opposed to duplexes, triplexes, the way that I think of them as attached. I think there's gonna be more opportunities for not necessarily a cottage cluster, but detached. So the state calls them detached plexes. I refuse to use that term. Because it's not a thing, but it's really just, two or three independent houses on a property. You're gonna be seeing that kind of development. I don't envision, those of you who built houses around here, we don't have a lot of sort of aesthetic requirements for houses. That's those sorts of
Understatement. If you don't mind my interjecting, and I don't know that you sent anything to the committee. I haven't participated that often, but from a planning perspective, you were saying that this county has not been in alignment with current state requirements for land use codes that have been more or less updated or pressured for affordable housing and mixed use development and moving away, as you say, to performance based or zoning. But have you provided any linkage to the work that was done by the program group before today? Have you shared that with the community council? Have you shared any of the research that's already been done that's noted in your report to the council for their review before the fact? I know that the development community has been pressuring the state and the state legislature to change the zoning, make it looser. But there are a lot of issues, land use issues, that are relevant to the unincorporated non-urban area. We've had a haphazard type of development over the years in our area. We have some infill to different standards at different times, rather than building a consistent pattern. And it's a lot of how to say need for performance standards and aesthetics about urban design, urban density, the adequacy of parking or no parking. Mixed use development has different pressures on utilities and services. The streets, we recently had transportation issues that came up, traffic safety. We have some urban corridors to contend with. We don't have a very good pedestrian circulation system that is safe through the area. That all is part of what the zoning should be attending to, is the whole range of uses that are affected when you change land use. So without knowing what the state's alignment requirements are, we're sort of at a loss to know how to react to some of your questions or the input that you've asked for tonight's meeting going forward. And who are the contact people? Are you the contact person, or is there a group that we contact? How do we get copies of the information that the committee has been working on in order to get an understanding of what are some of the pressure points that we have to address, and what we have to accommodate based on new state law, where we may be forced to have higher density in what traditionally has been single family detached housing areas. I've not seen any of it. You raised a lot of good points in the comments shared, but we don't have linkages to the documents yet. and we're working at a loss because we don't know what the priorities are or the objectives are.
Okay, so I will do my best. That was a lot, and I'll try to remember everything you asked. So there are a number of things. One is we don't have documents final yet. We will be uploading documents once we have them. And I think that maybe I misspoke. It's not that our whole zoning code is out of alignment with state law. It's just that things have been happening so fast from the legislature that we haven't had time to catch up. And so we're trying to catch up. There are pieces of our code that are out of compliance with state law. And in some cases, we can't apply our code, we have to apply state law. That is amazingly inefficient way to, try to review development. And it's confusing for people who are trying to develop. And so we're taking care of those pieces. In some way, those are the low-hanging fruit because we have to do them. And we just want to make sure that we are compliant with state law. So that's a small part of it. The bigger pieces, the pedestrian connections, the sort of how a community develops, those are really, really big issues. And simply changing a zoning code is not going to take care of all of those things. I mean, those are all the things that we would like to take care of, but that's a really heavy lift. And we are trying to do that heavy lift to the extent that we can. It's not just up to staff. We're not the ultimate decision makers on how our code changes. And so as we move forward, we will have the documents online. I mean, probably within a month or so. Yeah, within a month that you can look through and you can look at some of the recommendations that are coming out of it. And then as we move forward into implementation, there will be opportunities to review documents, to provide input, to maybe even be on some sort of working group, although I haven't actually officially been authorized for that yet.
And I think I would add as well as, so we're collecting a lot of information about potential needs and places to be changed. And so like, for example, and we can give you a tangible example of some of the state direction that we need to change. And it actually applies to what you were talking about with regards to pedestrian connections or some of the specific rules that the state has provided to us about pedestrian connections. And so we'll need to make changes to our code, and we realize that through this code, but it may end up in a package to actually make the changes as we're doing our transportation system plan update. So we'll package that together because they're related. But then there are also changes, as Martha said, we've made quite a few changes already because of the state mandated changes around middle housing, but then they made some more changes. So, and as Martha mentioned, like how you define a duplex or a plex. And that is within our code, we don't recognize detached duplex or detached plexes. But now we're going to have to make that change to recognize that. So that's kind of a specific example of the type of change that we'll need to make. And what we anticipate knowing more come the summer is what those packages of changes would look like. And it's likely that we'll be addressing like the housing ones to begin with, and then package some of the ones that are more related to measurements, how we measure things and different things like that that relate to our roadway system, be packaged with the transportation system plan bucket of updates.
I just caution everyone that it's important for us to be aware of the urban design implications to a change in intensity and density for the practical use of land for more than one use. Traditional zoning doesn't always work, and that's one of the problems that they're trying to resolve at the state level with the implementation of changes at the local level. And at the same time, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater in what is it that we expect to see happening in our community. For example, near me, there are homes sites that were 2 or 3 units built on them, and at the same time there was no parking for guests to be accommodated. There was some infill housing not far away on Oatfield that was very tight, smaller units, and very limited off-street parking. So we're starting to see a parking issue. I hope that the packages that get evolved from the discussions with the development community and the large landowners and the people going through commercial property renovation for residential use, all of that, is good food for thought and very good discussion. We've had infill, historically in our area, and it's not always been with the thought in mind of the practical application of it to on-street parking or even the road standards being updated to accommodate more people and more through traffic in residential areas for pedestrians to be in conflict with that through traffic every day. And, we have corridors of commercial use that are underutilized. They don't use vertical integration. It's all segregated. And so there's a lot of good land use issues that have to be raised and talked about. But having that background information of what you've already gathered will be very helpful to the council and to members to be able to digest what are some of the pressure points? What are some of the land use issues that we have to contend with at the local level that the county may have to consider, not just from the developer's standpoint, but from the residents and the businesses that are already here and what we have to contend with the changes that are being proposed to accommodate, the changes when we have less commercial development being utilized for where people work out of their homes rather than in commercial buildings. And we have that same thing in the suburbs, not just in the urban areas to contend with. We have, a lot of mixed use already starting in our area, and a higher density may not be bad. It's just how it's done is important. So the quality of the design standards, if any, need to be considered and at the local level, not just, from the developer standpoint, but from the communities.
Thank you, Henry. I want to, I appreciate your words. I want to be able to give other people an opportunity to talk tonight, but I also want to express to everyone who's here, Joseph Edge, who works with our land use, is really very knowledgeable. I was thinking as you're changing the code, that man has it memorized, so it's going to be very complicated for me. But he also is here on a regular basis with individual, thoughts coming out. So he's very good about helping us to understand that in a family emergency could not be here tonight. So otherwise he would be here.
He has actually been involved in this project. He's one of the stakeholders who we've been working with on this project already.
So I see that Ben has a question.
Thanks. I mean, I guess, for one thing, I just want to say that as someone who's sort of familiar with the sort of concept of like form-based zoning versus traditional zoning, it's very exciting to see that lens as sort of what you're taking here to start. So just kind of wanted to mention that. And, I know that you've already said that sort of communicating what these things mean will be a big part of your effort. So I do hope that we, are going to see some materials that we can share with our members in a way that, really is understandable and is appropriate locally to kind of what's going on. So great, just kind of a props for that side of it. And then my question is, especially as like a consultant team comes in and thinks about sort of a zoning diagnostic of this sort, right? What is like a measure of success that you as the county are using to think about like, our code being better at the end of this? What kind of metrics would you use to demonstrate, success in this project?
Oh, wow. I'm really bad at measure of success questions.
Or, it could be like a vision of success. We don't need to have a ruler out here or anything. I'm not asking for units.
I mean, for me personally, I have a lot of pet peeves about the code, and of course, some of those are wrapped into this. I guess a measure of success for me would be able to see a successful series of code amendments come out of this and our code actually work better. I mean, we try and try, but I hope that there would be political support for it too. Because ultimately it's the electeds who make the decision about changing our code.
Yeah, and I guess with regards to, while I think it's difficult to measure, but that it is simpler to use, it is less complicated. And then I would also, maybe easier to measure, it's just shorter.
Fewer zones.
Yeah,
Fewer zones.
Oh, I'm good. You guys answered.
Well, I'm on the land use committee here and with the watershed council in Joseph. So both places. A question I've gotten is, does it look like the legislature's fairly clear? It's a loaded question, I know.
No.
Because it seems
I
like.
would just no.
Somebody who's on the outside, and I've learned a lot the last 10 years playing with this stuff, is it seems like it's a little convoluted and it changes constantly.
Yes.
It's like it's a shotgun approach and they throw out a rule and then realize, oh crap, that doesn't work. They try something else and see, you run around like a crazy person trying to figure out what's up. It's like just my 2 cents, but it's.
I feel like I've been running around like a crazy person trying to stay on top of the changes and catch up. I think that I'm hoping it slows down a little bit, and there's been a lot of changes that jurisdictions have had to make, and I find it hard to believe that we're the only ones that are behind. And it's a lot.
Seems very
But
confusing.
I don't know, and I think we were told that there would be no land use issues at the short session this year, and guess what, there are.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so, we do our best, we serve on rulemaking committees where we can, we serve on legislative work groups to try to affect the sort of at that level. But we're but one voice. So.
Thank you.
We had one, Marianne.
Marianne,
Online.
question?
Let's give her
Yeah, I'm a failed architect, but interested in city planning, and my general thoughts about a successful planning and zoning thing is to create throughout a community places of activity and human scaled fun that are walkable from residential, so that and those are scattered between out throughout that would be my goal if I was a planner, would be to have fun nodules throughout the place. And if I was in their position, I would be trying to write things that would facilitate that.
Thank you.
Did you have a comment? No, I'm good. Mark.
I think you go first. We'll go.
Oh, okay. So my question kind of comes from my 43 years as a hospital architect, working throughout the United States, a lot of work here in Oregon. I've only been in the county since about 2017, so not a long time. But I'm sensing that there's a lot of frustration in this area about how the code has affected development, both residential and commercial. And one of the things that came to my attention immediately coming here is that the Park Avenue MAX station is perhaps one of the only MAX stations in the entire system that has zero development around. And I wondered why that is. And the only thing I can come up with is code. And so my question really comes to ways in which other municipalities have dealt with issues like this when you have a huge area like Clackamas County, in which they either create special districts or special specific plans for areas that are unique. And I think the McLaughlin corridor is a very unique area that really deserves to have a specific plan. And so I'm curious if if that is part of what you're looking at, is there any change in the way in which special districts or specific plans are developed?
I don't have as much history on the McLaughlin area and Park Avenue, but I know that Karen does. There is a McLaughlin corridor plan, and maybe two of them. There have been planning efforts, there are plans. I think that the development that was envisioned in those plans hasn't happened, and I am not, I have my own sort of theories as to sometimes why, but a lot of it has to do with market. The way that the corridor is zoned would allow a lot more varied development than has occurred. But we can't force it through our zoning code. I mean, in certain instances you can, but we've never wanted to do anything like that. There was some efforts around the Park Avenue to create a station area plan, and I'm gonna hand it off, because I know that both of you have a lot more history with that.
Well, and, exactly, there was a plan, as you were talking about, to think about how we could think about the land uses different around the Park Avenue station. But ultimately, that plan wasn't accepted by the board. And I think, personally, it really came down to some concerns over, in the commercial areas and existing business owners, and really being able to use and not wanting to take away their ability to do what they were doing, and it had a lot to do with the car lots. Yeah, and so it was a very difficult challenge to overcome, to be able to think about, because that's restricting people's ability. And it happens to be a use that's not very expensive for people to.
Yeah, I think that plan is there, and I know that I've been in some conversations about the Park Avenue plan recently. So about the hope to revive it in some way, because it is a station area that doesn't have a plan. And those of us who live near that station area, and there are quite a few of us here in the room tonight, would rather see a plan that the community has been involved in than to have something imposed. Because there's no, there's not an opportunity. I mean, it's where it's bit by bit instead of a thought out kind of plan, so.
Yeah,
I understand.
And I was just gonna say, one of the challenges with the McLaughlin corridor is that there are so many uses that can be allowed in that zone, so it makes it difficult to create kind of a sense of place or uniqueness, because the property owners can do so many different things. It's just,
And I would throw this out there. I hear from property owners along McLaughlin Boulevard that we're limiting, by making changes, we are limiting their rights to do what they want with their property. And my argument is, we don't allow a nuclear power plant to be put next to a church or to an elementary school. So we are already limiting your uses. It's up to the community to decide what those uses should be.
Well, you sound like a planner.
Well, and all residences have, there's things that we can and can't do as well. So, and that gets limited and it gets changed too
You
sometimes.
can't build a hospital on your residential.
I can't build up next to my property line, even if that's the only place to put something. So, I mean, we do, it's just, there's a thing about it.
I think a little bit of the problem is that it needs to be market driven, and the money is not there for the development. We come in and looked at it, Hotelma and the McLaughlin area plan group met, came up with some outrageous plans, that, like the Oaks Club up there, they're gonna put in a multi-use development with apartments up on top and retail at the bottom. Nice looking program. The problem is the market's just not there. Between the river on one side and the hill, the McLaughlin, or the Oak Grove or Oak Ridge, people won't cross back and forth from Webster down onto Oakview. So that's why the businesses along here don't really do all that well, and that's the problem.
Well, and I have difficulty with that argument. When I go to Tualatin or to Hillsborough, and there's projects going up everywhere.
They've also got, you know, employment all over the place out there and it's flat. But you look at the restaurants, look at the restaurants along here in the stores. A lot of the stores have struggled over the years to stay open just because they're not doing the
And maybe one
business.
of the important pieces, as we talk about zoning, when you change the zoning, it doesn't mean that development is going in there tomorrow. It just means the option is there when the money is available. If you wait until the money is available and your zoning doesn't work, then it's never gonna happen. So I mean, it's about future thinking. But I'm not, Martha, you have other things you wanna?
Well,
Dan,
One thing I'm curious about, also for the record, love the idea of really developing out the station area. I think it has a huge potential. Totally different topic, but on the code, something I was wondering about, I've been thinking about for a while. Back around the time of the last general election, I was looking through the zoning and development ordinance, only for the particular reason I was wanting to maybe put up a couple of campaign signs, and just being a layperson, I'm not sure. I found some things in there that seem to be trying to limit like the number of them, the size of them, and how long they could be up. I'm curious, A, is that true? And B, if it is, has that been reviewed for constitutional compliance with the First Amendment?
Yes, that's true. I don't know, I mean, we've had that sign code for decades, and has been acknowledged by the state, and so nobody has challenged its constitutionality. We don't regulate content of signs. But our code does regulate size and placement of signs.
But nobody enforces it.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty giant ones.
Well, I think that's a topic for a different day.
We know what happened out here on McLaughlin in some of the big elections, so.
And so I do want to be respectful of your time. I just wanted to touch on the other two projects. Just so you're aware, there's other things going on, and actually there's three. She mentioned the transportation system plan is being updated currently. And I don't know, I can't even tell you the status of that, but Karen's working on it. But in planning, we have two other sort of planning efforts going on. One is what we call the minor and time sensitive code amendments. You may have heard that term before. It's a code package that we try to put together every year or two to address where we're inconsistent with state law, to address minor changes, correcting citations, typos, housekeeping stuff, some very minor changes for clarification, not the big policy issues. And then at times requests from the public. And so we are currently drafting a package of code amendments right now that you will, I mean, the CPO gets notice, and I just want you to be aware that that will be coming probably in April-ish. With hearings in May and June. So that isn't directly tied to the CDO diagnostic report. It's not the big changes that we're talking about, but there is a little bit of overlap because it will include some changes that we're required to make to comply with state law and provisions that are currently in effect that we are implementing right out of state law. And dare I say the word parking, that is one of them. State law does not allow us to require any off-street parking in the urban area right now. Our code is to say that, we've been implementing it right out of straight law, it's extraordinarily confusing for everybody. We can allow it, we can't require it. And so that may be why you're seeing less parking with developments. We have yet to see a development that provides no parking. But that will be in there, and that's, you know, something that we're just trying to be able to implement out of our code rather than directly out of state law like we are now. And then the other effort is something that another planner is working on. And it's the clear and objective, what do we call it? Clear and objective code amendments. And without taking too long, there is the state law that says that all housing development there has to be an option to approve housing development using only clear and objective standards. Which is difficult, especially when you start looking at things like protecting natural areas. And so again, we know our code is out of compliance. We have a different consultant group being, you know, managed by a different group of planners who are looking at how to make our code clear and objective, specifically as it relates to our I'm gonna say our goal 5, 6, and 7 areas, our natural hazard areas, our sort of natural protected areas, and things like that. And so that is on a little bit longer trajectory, I think about a year before they think that they might be seeing some code amendments. And so that's something else that's going on, just to be aware of that.
And that one, we are working closely with our planning commission. And so it's often like a work session at our planning commission. We'll have, I don't know, we touch base with them like about every 4 months. Because for the districts, the natural resource, protections of natural resources, there's a lot in our code and it's complicated. And as Martha said at the beginning, we haven't updated our code in a really long time. And so a lot of it is how do we look at our mapping for those natural resource areas and make sure that our codes are clear about the areas that need to be protected. Is really what it's about. So, but yeah, I think basically that's going to be probably early 27 that the actual code amendments end up happening. But there's a lot, we'll be having some engagement. And I believe it's in the middle, so maybe more the July, August is when we're going to start getting some feedback from people. So.
Lots of changes. Okay, so, we don't need to do our discussion questions, they were just in case there wasn't any discussion, we could prompt you. But what is important to us is for you to know that there will be other opportunities for engagement. And also, I mean, if you are interested in participating in any of these efforts moving forward, we would like to know. And I think to your question, Mr. Epstein, I guess I would be the person to contact right now for anything related to this CDO diagnostic report or the minor time sensitive code amendments, although those don't really have a lot of, like I said, policy decisions that need to be made. The other projects would be other staff, but if you want to continue to be part of the conversation, you know, I'm happy to sort of start fielding names for an interested parties list.
Well, I think, thank you very much. I think it's very important for us to have a contact resource, not just a staff liaison from the council, but you know, someone that the community at large that can count on someone from the county being able to provide information and input. You know, I have a lot of questions that can't be answered tonight, and there are a lot of issues that are already at the forefront from the state and the political pressure that the development community has put on that we need to be aware of in the thought process and the decision making. As you said, it's not planning is politics, and you know we're going to be caught up in that. You know, and so we need to know the facts and what the pressures are. So thank you.
And we can make sure that we get the website, because there is a website that also has Martha's contact information. So there is, a small, a little bit more information about the project on that website. So
if you make, I may have it, but send it to me and I'll make sure that if it's available before it's interested.
Yeah.
One quick little comment, we're talking about websites, so get somebody in IT to please fix the website, so a person can actually find something. So you get, you're laughing now,
we are having a bit of they're looking at our website right now, so there will be changes related to accessibility. Now, I'm not quite sure if that will address the issues you're talking about, like usability. I'm not convinced of that, but there will be changes.
Just had, trouble with, you'll have a property file, we're gonna go look at a development. And even with the number, you can't find the damn thing half the time, it's impossible. And I haven't done it for property.
Like our permit system?
Yeah, looking for permits and things, so that's probably been 2 years since I tried, but it was the last few times.
It is not the most intuitive, and we have 2 different permit systems for older and newer and even older, and so it's.
Even with numbers.
Yeah, I understand that.
You can't get there from here, so.
Well, unless there's another burning question from somebody, I want to thank Martha for presenting and thank Karen. for also being.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. And those are Roseville properties.
I'm sorry.
Those are Roseville properties.
I just noticed that again, the houses were a little more empty than what they had been, so.
So Vanessa,
Yes.
would you like to lead the last month's transportation system conversation?
I would love to. For those of you who were here last month, my name is Vanessa Slagle, and I'm volunteering on the transportation system plan, like Karen mentioned earlier, for Clackamas County. And I'm representing the greater McLaughlin area. So at the time, the county was doing a virtual open house where we were shown how to do a virtual integrative, or I should say, interactive map. So at that meeting, we put the interactive map up on the screen, and then we entered in people's concerns of safety areas that people wanted us to mark in that interactive map. But people also had questions after we did the interactive map, and so I went back to the county and asked them, and so I'm following up with that. At our last meeting, Joseph Edge gave me a transcript of the meeting, so I was able to read back through the people who made concerns and comments about spaces that they thought were not safe. So I went ahead and added those into the interactive map, or if there was something that was already there that somebody mentioned, like Mark mentioned, the trolley trail crossing at Highway 99. There was another option where if that already existed, you could put a thumbs up. So I went in and I added likes to those ones that we mentioned in there if they already existed. And that was done by the deadline of February 16th. So after that, like I said, I followed up with the county staff for the specific questions. I know that Sue had asked about businesses and if the TSP, Transportation System Plan, was collaborating with local businesses, and the county said that at this stage, they're focusing on broad public engagement, which might include businesses, but they're not targeting businesses specifically right now. Bernard asked a question about whether photos could be submitted, which they can be on the email tspupdate@clackamas.us, which I put in the chat, and it's also here on the whiteboard. At the time, they could not be uploaded into that interactive map. And so the county thought that that was actually a really good suggestion, and they might implement that next time. River Road was brought up, and we opened up the map. We clicked on the particular street, and we saw that there was an existing project that was there, and it said, construct a buffered bike lane in accordance with active transportation plan. And we wondered, what is a buffered bike lane? So I found out that it's just simply an extra space between cyclists and cars. And they use generic language right now because it's just in that phase where they're not really ready to move forward. So somebody else asked, does that include sidewalks on River Road? And at the time it did not. And so through the conversation with the county, they added it, which I thought was great. Unfortunately, they do not, anything that they are talking about in that project, I can't remember what number it was, but River Road project number that include buffered bike lanes and sidewalks are not currently funded and do not have a start date. Those two questions were asked, so answered those. However, they mentioned that hearing from the community about the importance of sidewalks and pedestrian improvements helps justify keeping those projects on a higher priority list, making it more likely to receive funding sooner rather than later, and they encouraged us to voice our concerns through their email. Someone asked about street lighting. For an existing street light that is burnt out or isn't working, those should actually be submitted through the county's website on their report a road concern. And I have that website if you guys want it after the meeting.
Yeah.
For new lighting requests, it was a little bit complicated because I went ahead and submitted one for Hill Road. We have a section of it at the top that is really dark and hard to see. And I received communication from the county that said I would have to petition with my neighbors. So that's a whole side topic that maybe I can touch on later as I get more information. Speed reduction on Oakfield Road and River Road. So the county shared that an engineering speed study is already planned in the coming months for both River Road and Oakfield. And that study would be the first step toward a potential reduction from 35 miles an hour to 30. They also noted that any speed concern can also be submitted in that report of road concern on the county website. So I just went ahead and did that last night, and I submitted a road concern for Oakfield to change it from 35 to 30. I got an email this morning back from the county saying they would consider it, but they also suggested or encouraged me to send a traffic complaint form to the Clackamas County Sheriff's Department, which I did. So we'll see where that goes. So in closing, so both of those forms, oh, I should say that report a road concern and the traffic complaint forms might be a better outlet to go to rather than this TSP update at clackamas.us, because that might get through quicker. So to close, I think that our concerns were officially documented from that meeting. While the virtual open house is now closed, so you cannot go onto that interactive map and add any more information, they did encourage us to submit transportation concerns directly to the TSP update at clackamas.us. And the takeaway that I got from it was that community support matters, your voice is important, and we are encouraged to submit our concerns. So I'm happy to continue to be your liaison for the transportation system plan. And you can come to me with anything that you need, or I was going to offer that you can come to me at any time. And I could certainly send an email to them on your behalf, but you might have to go through Valerie first so that she can send it to me. So that's, yeah, I'm not gonna give out my personal email address, but it's, you can send it to contact@oakgroveCPO.org and they can forward your concerns to me. Thank you for participating.
Thank you for making it. That was very thorough. Were there any questions for her on that?
Oh, could you just say the two forms again? Sure, it is report a road concern. And I would just go to Google Clackamas County website and then there's a search bar for report a road concern. Or was the other one for the traffic complaint was Clackamas Transportation Traffic Complaint is how I found it on their website. So like traffic complaint was more speed enforcement because that would actually go to the sheriff's office, like I said. Report a road concern, there was in report a road concern, there is a spot where you can check mark speed. But like I said, when I got that, they said, great, thank you, and we'll work on it, but you might also want to let the sheriff know because we technically don't enforce it.
If I might interject, I've done that in the past on certain road problems that for pedestrians and cyclists on various road linkages in my area. And one of the things the county staff transportation department in particular said, there is no county regulation on how people manage the weeds and grasses on their properties. So, and debris and bushes getting too full, except when it's a vision clearance problem. So you may have a bicycle path or a pedestrian walk area on the side of a travel lane that is impacted by debris from the lot, the trees overhanging or weeds, and the county doesn't have a regulation to require them to remove it or cut it back. But they have been making progress on some of the roads where there has been excessive historical overgrowth impacting the bike lanes that have been marked. And like Thiessen, recently they trimmed back some of the shrubbery on the, I guess it would be the north side, near one of the intersections, that it's not just a vision clearance, but it's an actual obstruction to pedestrians. But there are other areas where people don't manage their weeds and trees, so that people are forced into the travel lane. So you do have to keep reporting these problems because maybe they can take some action, whether it's cleanup versus the property owner doing it. They can at least have the transportation department clear it. But they do ask the property owners to cut the weeds when it's a vision clearance issue, not necessarily when it's a pedestrian, forces a pedestrian or bicyclist to go veer out into the travel lane. So we need to really work on that to some degree.
Yeah, we have the same problem on Hill Road. We have a bunch of blackberries growing into the bike lane. And I'm about to go manually get rid of it myself.
I have a neighbor that does clean up
Really?
bushes, around.
Okay. Okay, you're pretty healthy.
Yeah. County does too.
Okay, so, Joseph is not here, for the report. I'm assuming it was the same thing about it.
I haven't seen anything, and he hasn't forwarded anything out, so.
Okay, so I do have a different time, so, are there committee reports tonight? Yeah. Anything from? Okay. Mark?
This is from the Parks District. There was some news today about a pending legacy, what is the right term? Pending decision from the State Court of Appeals, I believe it is, about the city of Milwaukee's ability to withdraw from the North Clackamas Parks District. And this has been an issue that's been litigated now, I don't know how many years, but quite a long time. And so there was a decision today from the Oregon Court of Appeals on that. There was some information shared on Facebook about that from county councilors or city councilors. And I thought maybe you would like to hear what they said.
Please.
I'm thrilled this is from Milwaukee City Councilor Will Anderson. I'm thrilled to share some breaking news with you all. The Oregon County Court of Appeals, Oregon Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of Milwaukee in our case, clarifying how the city can withdraw from North Clackamas Parks District. The court held that while state law provides a default framework for district withdrawal, cities and districts also have the authority to agree to different withdrawal terms. In other words, the agreement Milwaukee signed in 1990 and 2008 matter, and they are enforceable. For years, many in our community in Milwaukee have felt that the district has treated Milwaukee unfairly. The long-running delays around Milwaukee Bay Park is made the most visible example. However, that's not the only concern. I regularly hear from neighbors about neighboring parks that feel overlooked or in disrepair. There's a growing sense that the relationship hasn't always reflected the fact that Milwaukee residents pay into this district too. This ruling changes our leverage. The city now clearly has the authority to leave the district by a vote of council, consistent with our intergovernmental agreement. That doesn't mean we're leaving tomorrow, but it does mean that if the relationship truly isn't working, we are not stuck. One key consideration is that leaving the district does not automatically divide assets or dictate exactly how money or infrastructure would be allocated if we were to withdraw. That would still require negotiation, planning, and likely additional legal and financial analysis. The district formed by a county vote and unwinding a 30-year relationship would be complex. This is a major moment for this time. It is unequivocally clear that Milwaukee has the authority to withdraw from the district by a council vote. The question isn't just can we leave, it's should we? Is the relationship improving? Can it be fixed? Would we be better off running our own park system, or does the reform within the district make more sense?
Mark, do you want to, is there any way that, we're not Milwaukee, so how will this affect us out here? Just off, I know you won't know all the details, but
how would it affect us?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that recent analysis of how much Milwaukee pays in taxes to the county or to the district is out of proportion to the amount of money that is spent on Milwaukee parks. Oh. So if they were, and I would say that one of the largest expenditures for the county, for the district, is the Milwaukee Community Center, which is actually located in the city of Milwaukee. It is managed by the Parks District. The Parks District pays all of the people who work in that building. So if the city were to withdraw, they would most likely take the Parks Milwaukee Community Center with them, which would actually save the district quite a bit of money.
So you're saying that the Milwaukee is taking in more than they paid?
They are taking in more than they need. That's right.
All right. Okay, well, something to think about as we're out here and fundraising for our other community.
If Milwaukee left, would that put a dent in other parts of the park district budget?
My personal opinion is it would not, because the amount of money that's available to the district, if Milwaukee were to pull out, would actually be greater than if they were to stay.
Oh, mostly because of the community center?
Because of the community center, that's right. It is the biggest expenditure of the district.
Wow. So that's been something that people that have lived out here and been up into for a long time. I have been aware of it. It's kind of been running in the background for a really long time. So it's good that decision is made, and because the threat of leaving has not been really healthy in the system either. No, we are, no, you're not. If you don't do this, we will leave. That doesn't, doesn't make for a healthy system. Anna, did you have something else you wanted to add in that?
Well, I would say that because if you look at the total number of parks within the district, about half of them are in Milwaukee. So there's a lot of maintenance that people outside of Milwaukee are subsidizing. But I don't want to make it seem like there's anything evil going on here. It's just that there's an asymmetry. And Milwaukee could have an IGA with the Parks District, but the rest of us can't because we aren't incorporated.
What's an IGA?
An intergovernmental agreement where you set terms of, how you negotiate what kind of agreement you're going to have with the Parks District. We can't do that, so.
This is one of those other areas for people that had a long involved conversation. We're an urban area, but we are unincorporated. So the advantage that Milwaukee has is their direct leadership lives in their area and as they plan, our direct leaders are as a board of county commissioner, and only one of them actually lives in our area. So it changes the dynamic, and I think when you try to mix, this is a Valerieism. It's, when you try to mix unincorporated areas with an incorporated area that has its own city government, there is a disadvantage. It just doesn't work really well. So it might be better in the long run for us as an area. So, are there other reports? Greg, do you have any report from
Sir.
Bert?
Oh, I should have said one more thing.
Go ahead.
About half the parks being in Milwaukee, which is 1/5 of the district. So 4/5 get the other half of the parks. So that's part of the asymmetry.
Greg.
Not too much to say. We trained, I think, just in the last, 42 people in CPR certification, just the last year. We've been a little bit hobbled this first start because of my hip replacement and my other instructor's knee replacement, plus another one coming up in a couple of weeks. But we'll be doing, it looks like, another CPR training at St. John's Church in Milwaukee, and we may have some spots available for that. But our next training, formal train, would be June 6th. We're also planning a kind of an emergency prep fair with Rose Villa. We've got that on the calendar and are just starting to talk about that there. And I'll be talking with Oak Lodge Water Aaron, their communications outreach, next week about that and coordinating with, Oak Lodge Water. So that's about it.
Right, well, thank you. It's good to see you here and appreciate the update. Are there other announcements, reports, comments from the community, anything that people would like to toss in? Okay. Yes, Arlington.
Not to start a long conversation, but did I get a sense tonight that the Milwaukee area plan is just sleeping and not dead?
That what?
The Milwaukee area plan, is it dead or is it just sleeping?
Are you talking about McLaughlin?
McLaughlin
Ave or the Park Avenue plan, which, where?
Oh, they're two different ones, aren't they?
Yeah, because the McLaughlin area plan is old enough, it's much older than 10 years, and so it would have to be updated in order to do something. The Park Avenue plan is still, there have been some conversations about that plan, because there is no Station area plan. And again, where that stopped was it wasn't moved, the commissioners did not vote to move it to the planning district. At the planning department. In the planning department, they do their own outreach, so it never got, it never got to, even after a couple of $100,000 and you know, several years of work. It's sitting on a shelf instead of going to the planning department, and we still don't have a stationary.
What is a stationary? I'm sorry.
That around the light rail. So around all of the other light rail stations, there's what they call a station area plan, which basically
Station area, not stationary.
it's a half mile around the station at Park Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no, there was, the other stations have zoning that was designed to foster certain kinds of building and development in that area. And so one of the things that we talked about was making, if there's housing there, that it's a livable community, so walkable, and that there would be things to walk to.
Okay.
So that was part of it, and what ended up causing trouble with with just a few people, but they had a major influence, was they asked not to create any more car related businesses. Okay, so that when you have a car related business, it's not just a car sales. It's like if you have a drive through, okay, that's a car business, which takes a cutout across the sidewalk. And the more of those that you have, the less safe it is for pedestrians crossing the street, right? Okay, so and so it's pretty common to try to limit more of those, but we couldn't get over that hurdle in our area. Every other station plan has done that. So, you know, there's conversation because we need to do something.
So is that it?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Maybe more detail than you want.
No, it's great, yeah.
Our next meeting will be on the 25th of March. And Mary Rumbaugh, who was supposed to be here last month, but got sick, came down with flu that day, will be here, and she will be talking about the campus, the all-purpose campus for folks from the houseless community and drug addiction services and all kinds of things. Recovery campus, that's what I should talk about that, as well as issues around housing and human services in our area. So thank you, and with that, let us adjourn. All right.